Hello and welcome to Nookrium Inc. I am Nook, and today we're drawing a fantasy map for my Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So thanks to this virus, we have moved our campaign from my house to online. This is just a homebrew campaign that I am DMing, and we're putting it on my main YouTube channel. And we're going to be streaming it on Friday nights. And in the interest of that, I thought I needed to have a good map, and started getting some things onto the computer off of just my my sketch pad in my notebook. So I am drawing the remote island this campaign has completely taken place on at the moment. It's the island of Tial. This whole campaign sort of revolves around these magical devices that are out there in the world. I thought this might work as a while I'm drawing this map, I could do a little bit of explaining what's happening with the campaign. So if you want to watch the campaign, you have a little bit of background on what's going on. But for the basic rundown is we've got these magical items that are out there in the world, and everyone wants these things because they are very powerful. They just sort of enhance magic. And there's a few folks that have grabbed some, and they're using them their way they think is right. Some folks are just trying to get them, and that's kind of the main story around here. All the party members are from either this island or from another continent off to the side, which is where sort of the main empire and all that sort of takes place. But it's a pretty desolate place. It's there's not a lot of greenery at all. It seems like it maybe once was green, but it's all dead and brown and not a very pleasant place. Over here on the east side, there is the Empire, which has just recently arrived, and they are trying to find these artifacts I mentioned before. And that's sort of their whole goal, is to get those things and bring them back home with them. There's also, what I'm drawing now, is the lizard folk who are natives to this place, and they're the other main force on this island, which they haven't shown up too much as of the campaign happening. There's a few spots here I'm drawing right now. Is a camp of ex-slaves that have escaped from the Empire. The Empire is bringing in slaves to help them dig for these artifacts. And I'll get to some names whenever I start naming. I'll start explaining a little bit more what's happening here. Here's some of the slave camps that the Empire has brought in. So that town there to the east and all these little camps around is all Empire owned. They've brought these slave camps in to try to dig these things up that are buried underground somewhere. We've got a few important characters around that have found these artifacts, and they're using them for their benefit, like I mentioned before. Up in the northwest, there's a tower up there. That is our Necromancer Tower, where she's using the power of an artifact to try to raise the dead and raise an army of undead to do what she thinks is best. There's a druid around. We have a grove of trees who's doing what he can to try to re-greenify the island and see if he can use his power and his artifact to do that. There's a wizard out there as well who sort of tucked himself away and trying to not get involved in all the affairs of these artifacts and the Empire and all that nonsense. And right now I'm putting in the coastline to see, just to sort of detail the map up just a bit. Another thing I'm doing here is I'm going to move this onto my computer and add some color to it. I haven't decided whether I like it black and white or with color or not, but I'll show that at the end here where I've added the colorful part of it into it. And this will eventually get moved over to Roll20 or whatever. I think we're going to be using Tailspire, actually, which is a new one that's coming out. I think we'll be using that. In fact, I know we'll be using that for the campaign. And I'll get these maps all loaded in here. I'll probably do a few maps here. Right now I'm drawing a swamp, which is, there's a town up there to the north, which is Saltport, which is run by a bunch of frogs, kind of a piratey town, and they know that swamp is bad news. There's something evil lurks in there, and so it's kind of a don't go there swamp. We have a little bit of lava up here. This whole land up where I'm drawing now is sort of darkened and blackened with lava and ash flow and all of that. This is the Alzira, the Necromancer is her name. The Necromancer land that has the undead and all that up there in the northwest. There's also some spiders around, which I'm drawing in here. Just a few little icons just to kind of add some details, and all that. A bit of a Stonehenge type altar thing down there I'm drawing in at the moment, which is sort of come in, not really. Down to the south, what I'm doing right there is a town called South Shore, which has like an invisibility shield around it. Just sort of a secretive town that no one really knows about. The party knows about it, but that's about it. And just putting in a bunch of grasslands as far as everything else. Now, there's the grove of where the druids are that are trying to populate this place with greenery and make it look a little more pretty. Down there with South Shore, also there's a lighthouse, and there's also a there's a kraken down there as well. By the way, a few other things have been added. That town's got some good detail. The party's been there for a little while. Each of these, there's all the towns getting named and thrown in there. This is a good example of a D&D campaign that is planned one way and ends up not going the way you think it is. This is originally supposed to be just sort of like an introduction to island, and they leave the island, but here we are, we're still here. We've been playing this campaign for a while now. We are still on this island, and it has certainly become much bigger than it was originally planned to be. But things have, there's a lot of things going on, and drawing in some shields here, which I figured when I got it into online, I could color them in and sort of add a little bit of detail to, the different factions that are present here. We got the Empire over there in the east, and you got the Lizard Folk in the southwest, and then South Shore is a human and Yuan-Ti village down to the south there. And there's some roads that go through. The Empire has the roads going to the slave camps, of course. There's a road that goes from the Lizard Folk to the Empire, and up there to Adro, which is also a bit of Lizard Folk spot. And a few memorable locations, like the monastery up there. I'll name a few more here in just a moment. There's a kraken getting drawn in, and some boats coming through, and just a bit more details on this thing. So I'll put a link below, though, if you like to watch the campaign on Friday nights. I'll put a link to it, and you can check it out on my main channel. And it's just there's just 6 of us playing D&D, and I'm eager to see how Tailspire works. It's supposed to be coming out sometime soon, and I'm eager to see how that's sort of like a Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or whatever, like that. But just it looks really good. I'm eager to see how it goes. But just some finishing touches here, and of course the name. This is Island of Tayal, and we've got to get a nice name badge to this thing. And then just the final finishing touches to this. I'm really bad about leaving myself space whenever I put names in, towns or whatever. I always want to put the flag kind of banner look to it. I always run out of space, so I have to change it up. So I've got a rolled up banner for the place name. And now I'm just doing the coastal details here. But that's sort of a rundown of the campaign. It's there's a lot more going on than that, but it's gives you a basic behind the scenes thing and sort of an example or a quick understanding of what's happening with this thing. But we're cleaning up the racer bits, and we're done. And I got the colorful map here in just a moment. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.